Hi, Ursula.
I mean,
Wait!
I meant Ariel.
Disney theme parks wouldn't be the same without their iconic characters roaming around. But while many of them are very well done, the ones I'm going to talk about today are some outright misfires that, let's just say, they failed to impress me. Remy from Ratatouille. So the most important thing for a costumed character is that they're recognizable from their source material, and I must say that this costume is very accurate to the movie. Where this costume goes wrong is the fact that it was really poorly designed to where the head is so obviously a separate piece that it flops around and ruins your suspense of disbelief. I totally understand that the cast member underneath the costume needs to be able to take the head on and off backstage. But I just haven't seen any other modern character so poorly executed that any kid walking down Main Street could smell the Ratatouille! Sorry. This is just so surprising to me, considering how clever they've been with characters like Mike from Monsters, Inc., where I think the hat is actually the second headpiece. But none of that creativity was brought to the table with Remy. As a result, when given the choice of giant rodents to take a photo with, Mickey Mouse is my critter of choice. Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Ariel is a face character that I once had trouble recognizing. Take a look.
Hi, Ursula. I mean, I meant Ariel. So we just met. I almost said it again.
My troubles aside, there's a bigger issue that's soon to come. Designing theme park characters was a pretty straightforward task for Disney up until they started making the live-action reimaginings, because that presents a brand new issue. What version of the character should be used in the parks? It makes sense for, say, Pluto to walk around the parks in his animated form, because that's the only way he's ever appeared on screen. But this is how the dogs from The Lady and the Tramp were represented at Disneyland around the time when the live-action film was released. They're actual dogs, which was especially weird when they encountered Pluto in his animated costume over in Toontown. But I guess I shouldn't be that surprised by this, considering that 2 of the Fab 5 Disney characters are dogs, with Goofy being Mickey's friend, but Pluto being Mickey's pet? So, they have a bit of history with inconsistency, but for the most part, it does seem like they stick with the animated versions of the characters in the theme parks. We'll have to stay tuned to see how they handle Ariel after the new Little Mermaid comes out, because right now, actual humans are made up to look like the animated version. But the new Ariel will look different and already be a live-action character. It's kind of like when Marvel treats a character differently in the movies than when they were originally portrayed in the comics. I mean, just look at Aunt May from the MCU versus the original Aunt May from the comics. There's people that love it, and there's people that don't. I'm generally pretty open to these new interpretations. The Fairy Godmother from Cinderella. There's 2 types of characters in Disney parks: costumed characters and face characters. Typically, only the non-human cartoon characters are fully costumed over the face, which makes sense and usually works well. There are some exceptions, like the Incredibles and Jafar, because their facial features are so distinct that it's a great way to preserve them in the parks. But for the most part, human Disney princesses and villains are portrayed by actors who are made up to look and act like them. That's consistently been the case with the Fairy Godmother from Cinderella at every Disney park, except Tokyo Disneyland. They chose to make her a costumed character. Fine. This is actually a doll, similar to how I think the costumed character should have looked. But this is how it turned out. Unfortunately, the face is horrifying. But speaking of being horrified, that's exactly how it seems these next characters were feeling at Disney's California Adventure Park. Take a look at this ad and see if you can spot what I'm talking about.
That's it! Somebody has to go in there! Any volunteers?
So, scared-faced Woody and Buzz are a thing. Well, I haven't actually seen them in person, but they likely still exist deep within the Walt Disney archives. I actually did acquire the toy version of Scared Woody, and I must say, I actually prefer Scared Woody and Buzz to the normal Woody and Buzz you can find at almost every Disney park. Let me explain. Okay, so this is Movie Woody, but this is Theme Park Woody, and you may notice that Theme Park Woody's jawline is considerably wider than that of Movie Woody. And obviously there is a human person underneath this costume, and their head does need some space to breathe, etc. But the thing is, these costumes are already extremely oversized. So even if they had a round costume head like this, the person would still have room to wiggle their own head around, no problem. So it's just a little bit weird to me that this is so wide, because it looks almost like a weird caricature of Woody rather than Woody himself. Now, I would imagine that making a Buzz Lightyear costume would be an extremely difficult task, considering how unique of a toy he is. There's many elements that go into Buzz Lightyear, and I have to say, they got it really, really close. But it's so close that every little thing that's wrong with it is infuriating, because they clearly could have gotten it right. The Space Ranger logo in the parks is different than it is in the movies. It's literally a sticker that could have been duplicated to match the movie. This little thing, instead of saying Lightyear like it does in the movie, it says B Lightyear. I don't think there's any other Lightyear that Buzz would be confused with, so I'm not sure what adding that B really did other than change the continuity from the Toy Story movies. Look at the facial features. Both of these Buzz screenshots are in toy mode, and the eyebrows are just ever so slightly wrong. It's just not as perfect as it very easily could have been, and I don't understand why they made the changes they did. But last year, they introduced the Bo Peep costume based on her Toy Story 4 appearance, and it's become apparent to me that costume making techniques, or at least their vendor, has greatly improved since, because this Bo Peep right here looks almost identical to her appearance in Toy Story 4, with the only difference really being that Toy Story 4 version has more of a neck than in the theme park. Toy Story is my favorite, so it makes me a little bit sad that not all of their costumes are perfect. With that said, some of the characters are absolutely fantastic. Like the Green Army Men are consistently perfect. They paint their faces green every single day. It's a big process and it pays off. Lotso Hugging Bear. His bottom half might be bigger than in the movie. We don't really see him walk like that too much in the movie. However, amazing costume. I would actually give him like a 9.7 out of 10. But they truly hit the bullseye with Bullseye. I mean, look how perfect he is. I've never actually seen him in the parks, which is so disappointing. Before I move on to the rest of the characters on my list, I have a few honorable mentions. The OG characters on opening day at Disneyland in 1955 were less than stellar. And then there was also this odd interpretation of the Seven Dwarfs that I'm not even gonna get into. Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
And happy Halloween to you indeed, sir. Take care, everybody. Have a spectacular time here.
This one's a little strange to me because I've seen cosplays of Jack Skellington that accurately capture the essence of his head. The Disney Parks version does a great job with the body, but the head is just not Jack Skellington. I don't know what skeleton it is, but it certainly isn't the Pumpkin King. It almost reminds me of what Pixar has done recently, giving their old character designs a facelift that changes them so much to where they're almost unrecognizable. Just look at Tony Ridinger from The Incredibles, or Andy from Toy Story. As you saw in the cosplay, it's clearly possible to have a round, circular, spherical head of Jack Skellington, so I don't know why that decision was made, but it wasn't one that I personally approve of. Aunt Jemima from the syrup bottle. I thought I'd discuss the fact that the face of controversial syrup brand Aunt Jemima was once a character at Disneyland and even had her own restaurant. DuchessofDisneyland.com described the experience as while diners enjoyed their breakfast, Aunt Jemima herself, played by Eileen Lewis, stopped by to sing and talk with restaurant patrons. There was nothing particularly strange about her costume itself, but of course, Aunt Jemima portrays the white, romanticized notion of an antebellum mammy detached from the cruel reality of enslavement during the late 19th century. It's been said that Eileen herself had a close relationship with Walt Disney, but it's just disappointing to think that she was stuck playing Aunt Jemima of all characters in the park from 1955 to 1964. However, I do feel this was important to include because excluding Eileen Lewis would erase a part of history, and she deserves to be remembered apart from the character she played. So now I must ask, are there any characters you think belonged on this list? Let me know in the comments down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. That way you won't miss any of my future uploads, and it will help my channel grow. It's a mutually beneficial thing. Thanks for watching. Bye!